10 years ago in New York City, I finished the process of my ministerial education, or so I thought. That's for the second half of the talk. And in New York City, my sponsoring church gave me the ceremony, and this song was sung. I had performed it with them before, and then for my ordination, this is what happened. And I've asked Carl to lead us in it today. It's a Jason Robert Brown song that you may or may not know. It's an obscure Jason Robert Brown song. Carl Pantel, ladies and gentlemen.
I come with my armor in place, emotions in check, thinking I'm smarter or just more realistic. I sit with my frozen smile, all the while reluctant to trust what I'm told. Cynical, cold, challenging music of heaven to open a crack in my chest and let something glorious in. Music of heaven to puncture me suddenly. Blessed, blessed, blessed. Let the music begin. Let the music begin. They sing and they cry and I watch, leaned back in my chair, the classic New Yorker, alone among millions, indifference upon my face, out of place, but longing to feel what you feel. Like it was real, like there could be music of heaven to open some path to your soul and let something glorious in. Music of heaven allows you to give up control. Yes, yes, let the music begin. Let the music begin. And I sit there with dry eyes and cold hands, waiting and standing apart. With dry eyes and cold hands, waiting and wondering, when will it open my heart? When will love open my heart? Right now I open my heart. I hear Let the music begin. Let the music begin. Let the music begin. Let the music begin.
Carl Pantel, everyone. Woo! Classic New Yorker, alone among millions. That was me 20 years ago, alone in my apartment, longing for something else. Not me anymore. And so that song has incredible resonance for me. Incredible truth. And partly, too, because in it, the lead sings Holy Father. And when I was raised, Father was God, right? Father, both in my house and in church. Right? Father was God. And when I first heard the term Father, Mother, God, it was mind-blowing. I first heard it in New York in that same apartment when someone showed me the writings of Mary Baker Eddy in Christian Science. And her Lord's Prayer says, Father, Mother, God, adorable one. I was like, oh. There's another way. And then I came to Unity and I heard Father, Mother, God for the first time. And it blew open all the parameters of what I knew about spirituality. And I came to a Unity church and I understood in a different way the things that I had been longing for my whole life. An understanding of spirituality that went beyond any one religion, but looked at all faiths and the paths they lead to the sacred, to the holy, to the one Father, Mother. It's beyond gender. As we say here, God doesn't have genitals. God is not male or female. God is the energy of life that keeps producing itself over and over. And like the Transcendentalists taught us, that unity came out of transcendentalism mixed with a whole lot of other stuff. But the Transcendentalists taught us that God is not up in the sky. God is everywhere in everything. The animate and the inanimate. There is God. And that has to mean me too. And at the bottom of my life, alone in my apartment in New York, it was really hard to see it, but music always cracked me open, right? And still, to this day, I sat there and listened to this, and I've been at rehearsal, and I was here all morning, and we listened to it, and I sat there just now weeping again, because music can shift us like nothing else. Because it's the thought, it's the words, it's the vibration, it's the repetition of the chord structure. And thank God it resolves, right? And it doesn't always, because life doesn't always resolve. But in that song and in this calling, I know why I'm here. I know why I'm here. 10 years ago, this was me, being laid hands on, standing in my dominion, in my authority in New York City, and accepting my call to ministry. Those are 4 ministers, Paul Hasselbeck, who you know, Paul Tanelia, who used to be the minister here, was the minister there, and some of my friends from school in the background cheering, and my husband cheering me on. And then this was me dancing with their music ensemble after the ordination, which we're going to do some more of too. So some things haven't changed in the last 10 years that I still like to do. But when I look back on it, what a difference a decade makes. And there's studies that show this. If you ask people what your life is going to be like in 10 years, you'll project moderate changes in your life. I'll be doing the same thing basically. But when you look back 10 years ago, think about it for a second. What were you doing 10 years ago? And what are you doing today? Right? Well, 10 years ago, I was just starting. I wasn't the minister here yet. I was a minister in Fremont. Where's Elaine? There she is. And some people are still with me from that. But before that, I was a licensed teacher in Palo Alto. And I just kept taking the next right baby step along the way. But in that ordination ceremony, like I asked you to stand at the beginning of service, I stood in front of everyone, in front of a whole room, and made commitments to how I would live my life. I did it out loud. I named it and I claimed it. And those of you who've taken one of my courses, I make you do that in courses too. I make you say it out loud to the group, where you say what you're going to do, how you're going to behave, and how you expect to be received. Naming and claiming your life is one of the quintessential steps to shifting it, to transforming it. And if you're not happy with some part of your life or something that's going on in your life, naming and claiming is an opportunity to move it from what it is to what it could be. Because as we talk about in Unity 2, and why I love it so much, is when I sat and heard the truth that the universe has unlimited ways of fulfilling your desire. Unlimited ways of filling your desire. It's just you who keeps saying no. That's why that song's so great, because it say yes, yes, yes. So when opportunities come, it's your opportunity to say yes. Now, don't get me wrong. Tiny baby steps are essential, as we talked about last week. When I went to ministerial school, I only went for one semester. I wasn't sure I was going to do it. I had reservations. I was holding myself back. So I went to ministerial school for one semester and see how it would go. Well, it just made logical sense to keep going. And then the next semester, and I fell in love with learning again. And then I was learning what I wanted to learn. And I was taking electives and taking courses that were lighting me up. And the steps got easier to take. They were still incremental. They were still tiny steps. I just took the next course. I took the next term. I took the next step. I went through ordination processes, which is a long, drawn-out process. Because you don't want unqualified people leading your churches. There's enough on the news about that, all right? And I don't need to say anything else about people who shouldn't be in charge of people's well-being. So there's a strict and rigid process before you can get ordained. And that's a good thing. I can't believe it's me saying this, but it's good to go slow. It is good to go slow. Right? And my team is laughing especially hard because I'm the one who's constantly going, change this, do this. Go slow. It's at the same time. So the baby steps, each and every one of them, got me to this place. And then I've quantified all this in my Absolute Abundance course. It's called the 4 Steps of Manifestation. Name and claim you're good. Second step is to take concrete action. It's not good enough just to sit in your chair and say, well, I could do that. I could do that. I'm just not going to do that today. But in my head, I can see myself doing that. You actually have to take the course. You have to stand up. You have to say what you're going to do, and then you have to get up and do it. You have to show up at the rehearsal. You have to show up at the audition. You have to show up at the job interview. You have to show up at, I'm looking at 2 friends here that we met at an adoption agency. And now we sit here a decade later, 2, all parents. Because you took the step that you need to take to get you to where your goal will lead you to. So concrete steps are imperative. We can't sit in lotus position all day long and expect that the world is going to come to us. It will, but my favorite line, as my son tries to sneak in right now. I'm sorry, I've done this section already, Toby, about family, so come on in. You've already been mentioned. Where was I? It was more distracting to have him try and sneak in because I was like, who's like trying to peek around the corner? Welcome, Toby. Welcome, Belle. So glad you're here. Concrete steps, right? Baby steps get you to where you need to be. And they don't have to be monumental. They can be something very, very small. And then the next step is to share your journey, right? I didn't do any of this alone. I'm looking at you, honey. I'm looking at my husband. I didn't do any of this by myself, right? I shared the desire with everyone I trusted. There's the key. I'm not telling you to put it all out on Facebook. I'm not telling you to put it all out on social media. I'm not telling you to put your dreams and your desires out in front of people who won't respect them. But you know the people that you can trust with that stuff. But to share it with them and to take some risks in that, because you have no idea who's going to conspire with you and what they can bring you and what good awaits you along the way. I put it out there, and one by one, all the pieces that I needed fell into place. Some by my husband's great works, some by random chances, and how those kept blessing us is very funny. So when I moved to Kansas City, I had just done a show. I left the show I was directing and choreographing. I got on a plane. I showed up with my 2 bags. It was the middle of winter in Kansas City, Missouri. And it was still fun. And Kansas City, Missouri in the winter, and I had no transportation. And it's not San Francisco, trust me. And the campus is big. So about halfway through that year, we found me a car. As JD says, he bought me a cheap Escort. Ford Escort. Right? So I had a very cheap Ford Escort, and when I left school, that car was not worthy of driving across country. So we gave it to someone else who was just coming to school, and that car survived another 10 years after I left school, being passed from ministerial student to ministerial student, and you just never know how those blessings are going to ripple out across the world, right? And then the last one is to expect the unexpected. After I was here and working as a minister, after we had adopted Toby, and after Roma was born, I got a call from Unity World headquarters asking if I'd like to be on the board of directors for the whole organization, the worldwide organization. Now, I do a lot of visualizing, and I'm a big proponent of naming and claiming, but nowhere in all my visualizations of what I would do as a minister was board service one of them. So I was just like, me? You want me to serve on the board of directors? I was like, I'm the one who blows things up. And they went, uh-huh. So that's why we'd like you to serve on the board of directors. And I was like, okay. So I said no, because Roma had just been born, and Toby was new to our house. Wasn't the time for me to be away. But I said, ask me again next year. And so they came back and they asked again next year. And that year I said yes. Now, fast forward, I'm in my 6th year of serving on the board of directors for Unity World Headquarters. It is a $30 million a year organization, and we manage assets of $100 million. And I sit on the finance committee. I sit on the leadership development and recruitment committee, and I am now for the third year chair of the board of directors. So when they asked me to be chair, I was like, they called me again and said, we'd like you to run for chair. And I was like, oh, no, that's not for me to do. And they were like, no, seriously, we'd like you to run for chair. And I said, well, I think the CEO should pick the chair he wants, but that's they have to work with the CEO. And I said, so who does the CEO want? And they went, he wants you, that's why they're calling. I was like, oh, shit. Yeah, I guess I can say that. Anyway, because I just did. But I was on a phone call with him last week, and he apologized for the workload that all of a sudden had come to me because of some things that are going on there. And I said, Jim, you don't have to apologize. I never resent this work. And I said, and also I never sought it. I never sought this role. But I have to tell you, it feeds me like nothing I could have ever imagined. Right? Because I get to handle situations that I have never experienced before, and I bring my whole consciousness and the Unity teachings to it, and it grows me as a leader. I get to watch some of the best leaders in the country and the best ministers in the country lead the whole organization and work with them, and I learn every day things I didn't know how to do before, and I bring them all back here to us. Thomas, who's not here at the moment, but he's one of our AV techs and our web designer, knows this because I sit on weekly meetings with him now going, we're going to copy their website. And it's like, no, we're going to copy their website because they have the research team and they know why they're designing it that way and they know what's going on and they can spend the money and we can just piggyback on it. And those kind of things I would have never occurred to me, and I have access to them now because I said yes to the unexpected good. I don't get paid a penny, and it blesses me tenfold. It is my service to Unity. It is my service to the organization. And this is my favorite line about it. When your good comes to you in a form you never thought it should look like, when your good comes to you in a way that is not what you visioned and manifested, is most likely a sign that it is from spirit and not from your ego. Right? So when the partner shows up and he or she doesn't look like you thought they would, or when the job shows up and it wasn't what you had in mind for the right and perfect job for you, or the right and perfect home for you, stop for a second and open yourself and go, is this something that will bless me or stretch me and lift me to a different place? Because 10 years ago, I couldn't imagine it. Guess what? I can imagine it today. I can imagine it. I know what blessings and benefits I get from it. I know what value I bring. Wow. I know what value I bring to a board of directors. That's so different from the Ken from 10 years ago. And the Ken from 10 years before that, who couldn't leave his house because he was so scared to face and couldn't what was out there and couldn't look in the mirror because of the abuse he was inflicting upon himself. My family was all there at my ordination in New York a decade ago, cheering and laughing and celebrating with me. We had a huge party with jambalaya, just like we're going to have today, And they were, to say, a little skeptical of me becoming a minister at first, would be putting it mildly. Right? As I said, too, I don't know if I can become a minister. I've slept with too many people. No. So that was the Ken of then. The Ken of today is monogamous and loves it. The Ken of today has children who are the light of his life. The Ken of today loves being your minister. You give me so much. Thank you, Marty. Every interaction with you is a blessing to me, and I learn things, and I grow, and I am delighted to serve you. That's what a difference has transformed my life, because I said yes. What is yours to say yes to? What is yours to do? I say this in different ways every week, it seems, right? Whether you're retired or whether you're just starting your career, there is something pulling at you. My career today is just the same as it was when I was in show business. I don't mean that facetiously. When I would stand on the Broadway stage before I would perform, every day I would have a little moment of prayer, and I'd dedicate my performance to shifting something for the audience. And I remember specifically when I was doing Fiddler on Broadway, that show is about going through life's hardships and how your attachment to the divine, your communication, your reliance on the divine gets you through that. Well, that's what I do today. There's music, there's words, there's an audience. And there's a back and forth here that I didn't get in New York. There's a chance to learn from you in a way I never learned from the audience in New York. And for that reason, it's 10 times, 100 times better. So I invite you today to look at the 4 steps of manifestation. To name, to stand up in your dominion, as Mason and I like to talk about, and claim your good. I vowed to hold this trust sacredly, right? I am delighted to reaffirm that vow here today. I took incremental steps along the way to get here. I continue to take incremental steps to be a better minister, a better man, a better human being for each and every one of you, and for my family and my husband. I share this journey now on the internet with the world, with you individually. And I expect the unexpected. There was some real irony today. Spring forward, nothing was working. The cameras weren't working. One of our singers got sick. There was something else that had gone wrong. And there was like this cacophony of changes. And it was like, and Misa's singing Everything Must Change at the beginning. It's like, huh. And I was like, oh yeah, this usually triggers me. And it is triggering me right now. And I took a deep breath and I went, it's all in divine order. Right? And I went up to Elizabeth, who was leading meditation, and said, they're going to be working through your meditation because we don't have cameras right now. And now we have cameras. They're working. So everything is here for our highest and our best. I know each and every one of you are the divine expression, a magnificent expression of divine energy, here on this planet for a specific purpose. And you're here not to let someone else do it, but for you to do it, whether that be small, one-on-one, or something global. I invite you to say yes to that calling today. I invite you to say yes to the infinite possibility and watch what a difference a decade can make.